Hey guys, it's Max. In this video, I'm comparing Sony's brand new A7's video low light performance against the A7R3, the A6500, and the Panasonic Gh5. Before we take a look at the footage, I want to mention that the pre-orders are now available for the A7 III. This camera is going to sell like crazy. Just judging off all the comments on my videos, on all the different websites, this thing is going to fit a lot of people's needs for such a great value for the price that you're paying. And I'm personally going to be buying two of these. So if you guys want to use the links in the video description to pre-order and to buy them, that helps support the channel and that is greatly appreciated. Now let's start off by comparing the A7 III's full frame mode against the APS-C crop mode. Since it's 24 megapixels, it's actually downsampling 6K to 4K when you're recording in full frame mode, and that improves the detail and helps the low light, on top of being a new sensor with backside illumination, which helps. But since we have the high resolution, you can actually go into APS-C crop and still record 4K. And that is very nice if you want to get a little bit more reach, get a little closer to your subject. And I was shooting today at the Sony event, and it was so nice to have the capability. On top of that, if you have lenses that are designed for APS-C bodies, Sony has a variety of lenses, or like the Sigma 18 or 35, which is an excellent lens, you're able to just go into that crop mode and still use those lenses. So I love the flexibility. Let's see how that full frame mode stacks up with the APS-C mode. So starting off here at 1600, there really is not much of a difference. I see a little bit more noise in the shadows if I look really closely, and you probably can't even notice this on YouTube. Jumping to 3200 here, I mean, they're both still ridiculously clean. If I look really, really close, there's a little bit more noise in my skin tones, but so clean for 3200, especially if you compare this to some of the other cameras. Here at 6400, I'm starting to notice a little bit more of a difference. Once again, a little bit more noise in the shadows and a little bit in my skin tones on my face here. Not bad at all. At 12,800 ISO, once again, there's not a huge difference. The full frame still looks insanely clean. Super 35 does have a little bit of noise, but it still looks great. 25,600. Here is where I think it's kind of pushing the limits for the Super 35 mode, but the full frame is really good, surprisingly. This camera is performing so well. And here, I'm comparing 51,200 in full frame versus 25,600. And it's crazy, the full frame is actually cleaner, even though we're running at a higher ISO. And here, I'm up at 102,400 ISO on the full frame, and of course now it does look worse in the Super 35 mode at 25,600, and it's too bad to use at that point. Wow, honestly, I gotta say I am surprised. I expected the APS-C crop mode to do much worse. Now, it is worse than the full frame mode, but it's not that huge of a difference. I would say roughly 1 1/3 stop, maybe 1.5 stops, somewhere in that range overall. It still performs great, and it's still usable in low light situations. Let's take a look now at a comparison with all the other cameras. Here for the A7R3, I'm using the full frame mode, which is slightly cleaner, almost the same as the Super 35 mode. Obviously, we have the A6500, which also downsamples 6K to 4K, and the Gh5. So starting off here at 1600, the Sonys all look super clean. The Gh5 still looks really clean too, but you do notice some noise in the shadows and a little bit on the face that might be lost by the time it hits YouTube. 3200, man, they're all clean other than the Gh5, where you start seeing noise creep up in the jeans, the shirt, the face, the background. Here at 6400, our A7 III is still insanely clean. I'm starting to pick up some noise on the A7R3 in the face, and the A6500 is getting even more noisy than the A7R3. And of course, the Gh5 is not really great looking at. It's not really usable in my opinion at that point. And then at 12,800 ISO, the A7 III is still ridiculously clean. This thing's impressive. The A7R3 is usable. The A6500 is usable if you need to get the shot, but definitely in third place. And of course, the Gh5 just fell apart, and we have color shift, and it looks terrible. Now we're going to jump up to 25,600. The Gh5 is gone. And man, the A7 III is clean. A7R3, it's usable. It's usable if you need to get the shot. A6500 at this point is not usable. And here the A7 III is at 51,200 versus 25,600 in the A7R3. And I think it's actually slightly cleaner. It's pretty close, but I think slightly cleaner on the A7 III. Wow, so we have at least a stop of low light performance improvement over the A7R3, and the A7R3 is not a slouch. Everybody was really quite impressed with that camera just a few months ago when it launched and how well it does in that full frame mode. So now at this point, the A7 III, the one that's launching right now, Sony's entry-level full frame camera, is its second best performance and low light. And who knows, I mean, I don't know how close it is to the A7S2. It might be, you know, almost the same or even the same at certain ISOs. I think at the lower range, it might even be cleaner from my experience, but maybe once we're getting up to the 51,200 or the 100,000, the A7S2 is beating it out. But this thing is hitting so much marks because you have the new battery, the screen's not dimming, the great video autofocus performance, 1080p at 120 without a major crop, really, really good low light performance, and for a price point of $2,000. So call me impressed. Now let's take a look at the A6500 versus the A7 III in the Super 35 mode. The A7 III in that crop mode is cleaner than the A6500 with the 6K oversampling. Impressive. And lastly, let's take a look at here, comparing it to the Gh5 at 6400 ISO, and then the A7 III, we're at 51,200 ISO, and the Sony A7 III is cleaner than the Gh5 with that huge difference in ISO settings. The A7 III here, this is full frame mode, A7 III, it looks usable. It's seriously, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I do see noise. I definitely do see some noise, but it is definitely usable, and not usable where, like, if you have to get the shot, you have to get the shot. But I think once you get a little bit of YouTube compression on here, it's not going to look too bad at 51,200. Definitely cleaner than the Gh5, especially in these shadow areas, and even in my face. Gh5 at 6400 ISO here, not looking good at all. Honestly, guys, I have to say, like I already mentioned, I'm really surprised with the low light performance of this camera. I knew that it should be pretty good. I did not expect it to have a 1 stop or 1 1/3 stop lead over the A7R3, and especially that Super 35 crop mode to be better than the A6500s. I'm going to have a variety of low light shots in my full review of the A7 III. Make sure you guys are subscribed and definitely enable those notifications. I'm going to be looking at 4K detail comparisons with all these cameras, 1080p detail at various frame rates compared to all these cameras, IBIS comparisons. I'm going to share my experience of using this camera in the last couple days, and also mention some things that I got from different Sony engineers from Japan that you guys definitely want to hear if you're interested in shooting video with the Sony camera. So this has been Max. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you use those links so you guys can help support the channel. I definitely appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video.